So, good evening. Let's start with our motivation. And sometimes our mind is a bit rough, just agitated or stressed. And we keep on going at that point very often, and our mind just gets more agitated and more stressed. So it's good when we notice that in ourselves, to be able to just make ourselves sit down. And, because we have that restless energy, I'm going to run here and I'm going to run there. But to make ourselves sit down and just, calm the mind by whatever way you want to do it, whether it's watching the breath or visualizing something or whatever, but to actually take the time to calm the mind, regenerate our good motivation, and then continue with what we were doing. So it doesn't have to take a long time to do that, but it's very beneficial if we do. Because then when we re-engage with what we're doing, our mind is clear, our speech is better, our actions are better. And so we create more virtue, avoid non-virtue, and so on. So remembering to do this is something important, especially if we want to generate bodhicitta, because if we let our mind be agitated or just even restless, then difficult to actually have bodhicitta in the mind. So now when hopefully our mind is somewhat calm, to generate that aspiration that sees all sentient beings as lovable, sees all sentient beings in beauty, that wants to work for their benefit, and to do so wants to realize the lack of inherent existence in order to use that realization to purify the mind and attain full awakening. So let's generate that aspiration. We were talking last time, we were calling self-centered mind names last time, right? Yeah? So very helpful to do this. So it's really important when we do this to remember that our self-centered mind is not who we are. It's not our nature. It's not our being. We do not have to be self-centered. It's some other added additional mental state that is definitely problematic, but it's adventitious, it's temporary. Okay? So this is very different actually than a scientific view that tells us that we are hardwired to look out for ourselves first and only. Yeah? Quite different from that. So we have a really as Buddhists, quite a different view about human nature. Yes, we have this body, and this body has certain chemical things going on, certain genetic things going on. However, our mind is something that's much more malleable and doesn't have to be limited by being hardwired to be selfish or whatever, that it is actually possible to reverse that trend and learn to cherish others more than self and to be happy doing that. Yeah. So when we're talking about cherishing others more than self, it's not, it's not like, oh God, do I really have to? Well, if I have to do that to be a good Buddhist, well, okay, I'll cherish these idiots. It's not done with reluctance. It's not done with a condescending view towards others. Yeah, the real mind that exchanges self-care for other care is a very happy mind. Yeah, a mind that really takes delight in bringing joy to others. Yeah, so we have to remember when we're practicing the Bodhisattva path, when we're practicing the Dharma in general, we should view it as something very nice to do, because it's the path leading us to lasting happiness, instead of seeing the teachings as some kind of prison or some kind of shoulds and ought tos and supposed tos, and see ourselves as a round peg trying to fit into a square hole and getting frustrated with it. Yeah, that kind of attitude doesn't work with Dharma practice. Yeah. We have to really want to change, because we see that we can, and we see that when we do, then it just opens so many doors that previously were closed to us. Okay? So when we're calling the self-centered attitude names here, we're not calling ourself names. We're calling this self-centered attitude that is our real enemy names. Yeah? And so I always find it very helpful in this regard, and I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again, to remember what Shantideva says, that the worst harm other people can do to us is stop this lifetime. Now, normally we would think, oh, somebody killed me. Of course, that's the worst harm they could do. That's awful. But from a Buddhist viewpoint, somebody stopping our life isn't the worst thing that could happen to us. The worst thing that could happen to us is our karma ripening in a bad rebirth, where we don't have the opportunity to practice the Dharma, where we don't have the opportunity to create virtue. Yeah, that situation is much more frightening if we have a genuine Buddhist worldview than dying. Yeah, so the worst thing another person can do is just stop this life. But our self-centered attitude can do something much worse than that, because under its influence, then we create a lot of negative karma, and that will send us to an unfortunate rebirth. Which, if we really hold the Buddhist worldview, is really much more damaging than just dying. Yeah, when you think about it, dying, you move out of this house. Yeah, like Tomei Sampo said, the mind is the body is the guest house, and the mind is residing in it. So you move out of this house. We've moved a lot in our lives, haven't we? Haven't we? So from beginningless time, we've moved out of one house and into another one. So it's not a big new thing. Yeah. But to have our own harmful deeds ripen in terms of putting us in a situation where we can't practice, yeah, that's really something to be scared of. Okay? And that's done by the self-grasping ignorance and the self-centered thought. So that's why here, when we're practicing equalizing and exchanging self with others, we're putting self-centeredness out there and pointing the finger at it and saying, you're the butcher that cuts off my path to happiness. You're the robber that steals my virtue. You're the terrorist that makes me afraid of sentient beings who are trying to help me. Yeah? And so to give, if we're going to call names, call it to the self-centered attitude, not to other sentient beings. Okay, so self-centeredness, you're a troublemaker. It sure is. Yeah, we might be getting along very well with somebody, then self-centeredness comes up, and we pick a fight with people who are our friends. Yeah? Countries do this. Brexit, I think, is what do you think, Kaz? Is Brexit an example of this? Yeah? I think what's happening, kind of with Trump and Mexico, another example, being countries who are our friends, and we get self-preoccupied and we diss them, and who does it harm the most? Us. Yeah? So really, our self-centeredness is the biggest self-sabotage mechanism that we have. Yeah? I mean, you can think of somebody maybe who is in recovery trying to stop their substance abuse. Yeah? And they've been doing really well. They've been clean for a few months, a few years. Then they take another drink, they take another pill, they take another puff. What makes them do that? It's not love and compassion for other beings, is it? Yeah. What makes them do it? Self-centeredness. I want some happiness. I want to feel good now. And then they wind up going down the slippery slope. Okay? So this self-centered attitude is not our friend at all. Yeah? It makes us suspicious of other people. People who are trying to help us, and we just get suspicious that they're going to harm us. People who are trying to harm us and manipulate us, self-centeredness makes us fall for their ruse. We just buy into it, hook, line, and sinker. Yeah? Don't we? Can you think at times in your life when you've done that? Somebody appears very nice, very sweet. There's red flags all over the place, but you totally ignore them because this person just looks so good on the surface. Yeah? And then what happens? Yeah. Okay. We wind up in a mess. Okay? So this is the deeds of the self-centeredness. Yeah, we're also causing it a lazy good for nothing. Yeah? So we're not calling ourselves a lazy good for nothing, but self-centeredness is a lazy good for nothing. Yeah? Because it makes us fritter away our time, fritter away our life. Yeah? Self-centeredness doesn't want to do anything, wants to lie in bed all day. not get up, wants to go to the beach, even when you've been to the beach how many times? Yeah. Self-centeredness makes us spend money that we don't have, because there's the prospect to have something really nice. Yeah. And we want it. So, we wind up in credit card debt. Now, if you really look, as we've all been in messes in our life, haven't we? And we've all made bad decisions. It's very interesting. Take some time and just review, do a little review. And, and see when because we can look back now at our bad decisions. Yeah. And say, what made me do that? What made me choose that option and not something else? And guarantee self-centeredness is behind it. Yeah. But don't believe me. Check for yourself. Yeah. So we have to do this kind of analysis to develop very firm conviction that the self-centered attitude is our genuine enemy. If we don't do this analysis, but we simply say selfishness is bad, then we wind up guilty, feeling very guilty for being selfish. We're selfish, but we really want those things, and then we feel guilty for it. Okay? That's not Dharma practice. Yeah, that's a should and an ought to and a supposed to. Yeah, but when we've really thought about these things very deeply, then it becomes clear that the self-centeredness is the thing that's messing us up. Yeah. And then, it's much easier to just put it aside because we have a wisdom mind seeing what it does to us. Okay, so we talked last week, covetous, self-centered attitude, hopeful and fearful self-centered attitude. Hopeful, we have all sorts of unrealistic daydreams that we try and actualize, and then all sorts of unrealistic, discouraging fears that we try and protect ourselves from. Yeah. We waste so much time and energy on that. Mm-hmm. It's all about me. Okay, so we stopped last week on self-centered attitude with no integrity or consideration for others. Okay, so integrity is, these two, integrity and consideration for others, are two mental factors that are very important for abandoning non-virtue and creating virtue. Integrity is leaving aside something that's unwholesome because we respect ourselves, we respect the path that we follow, that we've chosen to follow. Consideration for others is, again, abandoning unwholesome actions because we know that our actions influence others and we don't want others to lose faith in the Dharma or lose faith in us or be, burdened by our ridiculous actions. So we abstain from them. Okay? But self-centeredness that lacks no integrity or consideration for others, okay, what does that one do? Is it shirks responsibility and it blames somebody else. So when things are our responsibility and they didn't turn out well, we blame them on somebody else. Okay? When there's profit to be had, we take it. When there's problems to be had, we leave it for other people. True or not true? true, isn't it? Yeah. Then uncontrollable self-centered attitude. Okay? Or out of control self-centered attitude. So when we're out of control, okay? So what makes us out of control? Jealousy for those who are better than us, competition with people who are equal to us, and arrogance towards those who are inferior. Okay, so we're out of control, always comparing ourselves with others. Yeah, how do I measure up in comparison to that person? Yeah, so even in the monastery, that person does more prostrations than I do. That person, can sit cross-legged longer than I can. I have more study than the other person does. I know more than them. Yeah, I have a more important position in the monastery than somebody else, or in the office. Or there's somebody who's my equal, so I want to compete with them. Yeah? Who can get the most attention from the visiting teachers? Who can get the most praise from the guests? Yeah? And so we compete. Yeah. So the same thing in offices, same thing in families, isn't it? Sibling rivalry. And then, you wind up better than one sibling, a little bit of, you put me down when we were little kids, but I make more money than you do now. Yeah. We're so often just like children, aren't we? Yeah. Or our parents still give more attention to one of our siblings than to us, and we're jealous. Huh? Same old. Okay. It's really a drag, isn't it? Okay. Then self-defeating self-centered attitude. Okay. So here, the Buddha taught us that, and the great masters taught us, that happiness comes from wholesome attitudes and activity, unhappiness from destructive actions. Yeah, this is something that's true. It's the law of karma, whether you believe in it or not. And even though we want happiness and not suffering, what do? We create the causes for suffering. So it's really self-defeating. Yeah, self-sabotaging. Okay, utterly blind self-centered attitude. So here it doesn't mean physically blind. It means that our self-centeredness blinds us to both the conventional reality and the ultimate reality of things. Okay? So just on the conventional level, we're unable to see our faults as faults. And very often we think our faults are good qualities. Now, when we're attached to somebody, we often think their faults are good qualities. Yeah, and we enable their faults to continue on. So, it's self-centeredness is utterly blind. Okay? So, self-centeredness makes us irritable. It makes us lash out at others. It makes us insecure. Yeah. It makes us nuts, basically, if you think about it. Yeah. Like there's some small thing and like, oh, I'm sure I have cancer. Yeah, you have some small kind of ache or pain or something and it's like, oh, I must have cancer. Yeah? Your friend has an ache or pain. You don't worry about them having cancer. Yeah. But all of a sudden, oh no, what's happening? Oh, this is terrible. Oh no. Or we just totally freak out over something. Yeah? Or a friend doesn't call us back. Yeah, we call somebody and they don't return the call. Oh, they don't love me anymore. They don't like me anymore. What did I do? Yeah. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they didn't get the message. No, that's not the reason, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm rejected again. Okay, so this is all self-centeredness, okay? So Shantideva says, now I have understood that it is you, the self-centered attitude, who has destroyed me in lives without beginning up until now. So now I am going to apply the antidote and destroy you. You have nowhere to go. You cannot put up a fight. You will not destroy me again like you have in the past. What's the antidote to self-centeredness? Cherishing others and exchanging self for others and Bodhicitta. Okay, so we're kind of declaring war on the self-centered attitude. If you like that image of war, some people like the image of war. Shantideva uses that a lot. Other people don't like the image of declaring war on your self-centeredness. But you can, think of another image if you want. Okay. So from there, when we really think of the disadvantages of self-centeredness, then we go to thinking about the benefits that come from cherishing others. And so here, again, I was mentioning, when was it, just yesterday, how so often in the teachings we find, advantages of one thing, disadvantages of another. So here's a good example of it. So now the benefits from cherishing others. Yeah, so what do you think are the benefits of cherishing others? Besides that they'll like you and give you presents, which is actually self-centeredness talking.
Foundation for developing great resolve.
Yeah, it's the foundation for developing the great resolve, which leads to bodhicitta. What are other benefits? Yeah. Yeah, more opportunities to be happy. And what else?
It leads us to perform virtuous actions which lead to happiness.
Yeah, it makes it very easy for us to perform virtuous actions that ripen in our own happiness. Yeah.
Brings us more in accord with reality because we're not just focused on one person.
Yeah, so we're more in accord with reality in the sense of really including everybody when we look at sentient beings instead of having a biased and partial mind.
You can sleep better.
Yeah. What seems better?
Sleep better.
You sleep better, yeah, for sure. For sure, because when we don't get along with others, it disturbs our sleep, doesn't it? Yeah? So that's why His Holiness says, if you want to be happy, take care of others. Yeah? Okay. So, if we really look, so if we don't see the disadvantages of self-centeredness and the benefits of cherishing others. If we ignore that, then we may take a lot of initiations. We may sit in on a lot of teachings. We may get a lot of certificates for Dharma courses. We may offer a lot of mandalas and do a lot of prostrations. And our mind is not going to change a lot. But if we're able to think about the disadvantages of self-centeredness and the benefits of cherishing others, then, our mind can really begin to change. But if we do our whole Dharma practice just concern me, I, my, mine, then it becomes almost like everything else we do in life. So it doesn't have a real strong impact on our mind. Okay. So in terms of cherishing others, some simple ways to do it, to show it anyway. We have to really think of the benefits of it very, very much. But to really think, like in the 8 verses, it says to give the victory to others. So to, like you do a team project with people, then to make sure that the other people you work with receive credit for their work, and not to advertise, everything that you've done. Does that give you pain in your heart? How can I work on a team project and not let people know how much I've done on it, and instead, talk about the work that the other team members did? That almost seems like murder, doesn't it? Okay. Or, you get something, and so you share it with others, and when you divide it, you try and give larger portions to others than what you keep for yourself. If you're the oldest child, you have some training in this. Being an oldest child has some benefits here, because you have to divide things fairly. Okay. But, you're the oldest child, and you divide it fairly, and you don't give one molecule more to your sibling than you have to. I remember with my brother, because I was the oldest, and when we were on our own to have noodle soup for dinner, I had to count out the noodles, because he wasn't gonna accept anything but, exactly half the noodles, and and I wasn't gonna give him any more than half the noodles. And at that time in my life, it was so important. Now I look back and I think, how stupid. The stupid things that we care about sometimes. Okay. So also, if, we receive something and we're going to share it with others, if part of it is broken or damaged, keep that part for ourselves and give the nice part to somebody else. Is your mind going, I can't do that? It's real interesting to see. There's a lot of resistance. Okay. So, yeah, if we don't really understand the disadvantages of self-centeredness and the benefits of cherishing others, then this practice seems quite masochistic, like you're denying yourself happiness. Yeah. Like, I have to think of giving one more noodle to my brother. What suffering that's going to cause me. Yeah. Or I have to accept the pair of socks that isn't exactly the color I like. Or, these kinds of things that we get so bummed out about that are trivial. Huh? So trivial. Okay. So to really, that's why it's important to think about the disadvantages of one and the benefits of the other. And like it says in the Lama Chopa Puja, when you understand that, when you look at the people who cherish themselves and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who cherish others more than self, who's happier? Yeah? Who's happier? The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They're much happier, even though they cherish others more than self. We work only for our own benefit, and we're miserable. Yeah? Because you know how, I don't know about you, but you work for your own benefit, but then you try and cover it up because you don't want to look like you're just working for your own benefit. You want to look like you're being kind. Anybody else do that? Yeah? Or am I just talking about myself here? Yeah? So, we have all sorts of little ways of doing things and little schemes, so we make it look like we're being very magnanimous, very self-sacrificing. But actually, it's a setup so we can get what we want. Yeah? Oh, you don't want to do that? I'll do it for you. Don't worry. I'll take care of that job. I'll do it for you. And in the back of our mind, it's, and then the next time I have a bigger job that I don't want to do, I'll go back to that person and say, will you please do this for me? And they'll feel obligated. Right? Okay. So why should we see other sentient beings as important? Why? Because it brings both temporary and ultimate benefit to us. Okay? Because if you think about it, okay, you think, okay, I woke up this morning in a building. Who made that building? Who made that bed? Who made the electricity? Who made the water system? Wasn't me. Yeah. I had lunch today. Who grew the food? Who transported the food? Who cooked the food? Who cleaned up? Some of you are going to go, I did. But if you think, kind of everything we've had today and used and come in contact with, it's all due to the efforts of other people. Yeah, we really can't stay alive by ourselves. Yeah, this idea of being, independent entities and pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps and ignoring everybody because I'm so good and I'm going to get my way. It's totally out of sync with the nature of reality, which is, conventionally, we're completely dependent on other living beings. Yeah, when we don't feel well, do we cure ourselves? We go to doctors. Yeah, and they take their time out to check us and talk to us and give us medicine. Even if we have something that's contagious, they still help us. They don't put on 15 masks and go, "Don't breathe on me." Yeah. They readily help us. Okay, so just, talking about how we live in this life, all due to sentient beings. Our Dharma practice, also due to sentient beings. Who do we cultivate love and compassion with respect to? Not ourselves. Yeah. Other sentient beings. Yeah. So every time mudita bites me and scratches me, and I can show you my wounds. Yeah. I have to think, she's kind. Yeah? Because who am I going to develop compassion for if it's not the cat that bites me? Yeah? If it's not the person who drives me nuts. Yeah. We need the person who drives us nuts to develop fortitude. Yeah, to develop compassion. Because we don't want to cherry pick the objects of our love and compassion. Because if we do, then that's no better than really the animals do. Yeah? Animals cherry pick the people that they love, don't they? You feed me, I love you. Very simple with an animal. Yeah, with us too. Do you do something I like? I love you. So having that kind of attitude isn't any different than the animals. So really, to be worthy of calling ourselves human beings, we have to be able to learn how to care for beings who are strangers and learn how to care for beings who annoy us and bug us and criticize us and speak rudely to us and don't do what we want. Those are the people that we need in order to practice. So remember Atisha? When he came to Tibet, he had one cook that nobody liked, that everybody thought was so obnoxious. Yeah, and they said, "Why do you have this guy with you? Why'd you bring him from India? We can cook for you." And Atisha said, "I need him to practice, for my practice of fortitude." Yeah. So we need all those people who are the incarnations of Atisha's cook. Of course, we might consider that for some people, we're the incarnation of Atisha's cook. That we drive them buggy, But we never understand that, do we? When other people don't like us, when they tell us that, they find us annoying and irritable and inconsistent and rude, we never understand why they would think that way about us. Yeah? And so we feel misunderstood. Yeah. But all those really rude, insulting, selfish people who I encounter are really rude and selfish from their own side. It has nothing to do with my projection at all. Right? Good. I'm glad you agree with me, because I'm always right. Don't disagree with me. Yeah. Oh, one of my wounds is acting up here. You see? This is the latest one from today. And they have the bite. There's the bite mark from a few days ago. Then look. Oh, that one up there healed. But it hurts. Yeah, come on, feel sorry for me. Come on, I want some pity.
You're welcome.
Yeah, see, I need her to practice patience.
Moving on to the world.
Okay. Okay. So, if we really think about it, most of our Dharma practice involves other living beings. Who do we practice generosity with? Besides giving it to ourselves from one hand to the next. Generosity, we depend on other living beings to practice generosity. Who do we create ethical conduct with? Other living beings, by abstaining from harming them. How do we generate fortitude? We need other beings for that too, don't we? Yeah. How about joyous effort, taking delight in virtue? We need sentient beings for that as well. Yeah. Concentration. I don't need sentient beings for that. I'm going to go off and meditate quietly in my cave. Yeah. I don't depend on other living beings bringing me food so I can continue to practice. I don't depend on other living beings, putting central heating in my cave. Okay. So if you look, and wisdom also depends on sentient beings. Yeah. The wisdom of conventional life depends on sentient beings. The 4 ways of assembling disciples, which is another bodhisattva practice that comes after the 6 perfections. The first one there is generosity. Again, we have to practice generosity, with other living beings to attract them because we want to teach them. Then we need to teach them. Yeah, we don't teach empty space. Yeah, we teach other living beings. So if we're going to develop these 4, that's the second one, giving the teachings. Then we need to encourage them. Yeah, also depends on others to do. Then we need to act consistently to practice what we preach, basically. Yeah. So that depends on them also, because they're the people who are going to notice it. Yeah, so all these bodhisattva practices we don't do in a vacuum. We do them all in relationship to other living beings. And so for that reason, other living beings are really important to us. Yeah, and if we want to become a Buddha, we have to cherish them, because all the causes for our own awakening we create in relationship to other living beings. We aren't an independent agent. Okay? So, when you really look at it this way, our own enlightenment depends on every single other living being. If we leave one out, we don't have bodhicitta. If we don't have bodhicitta, no way to become a Buddha. Okay? So I remember my teacher going over this again and again, and then it was in India, and then I remember one day taking a walk in the field, going up the mountain and sitting in the field, and there were bugs all around, grasshoppers and different kind of bugs in the field. And I remember sitting there and looking at each bug and remembering what my teacher had said and thinking, my awakening depends on this sentient being. This grasshopper. Yeah, if I'm going to become a Buddha, it depends on that grasshopper. And it depends on that bee. And it depends on that beetle. And then you start thinking of people too, and all the different living beings. Yeah. And it seems so kind of remarkable when you start doing this, because you really see how dependent we are, not only to stay alive in this life, but really to fulfill our spiritual aspirations. And we really have to thank every other living being in that way and appreciate every other living being. No matter how they treat us, no matter what they say about us. Because if we cut them out of the sphere of our compassion, that only hurts us. It only puts a wrench in the wheel of going towards awakening. Okay? So quite important to think about this and to cherish all these beings. Okay, so caring for other sentient beings, it doesn't mean just giving them lollipops, okay? It means freeing them from the dukkha, the misery of unfortunate rebirths, and the dukkha of cyclic existence in general. It means teaching the Dharma to people who want to hear the Dharma, not forcing the Dharma on anybody, but teaching and explaining it to other people, even if it's inconvenient for you. Yeah, you do it, because that may be the only chance you have to connect with that living being. And that may be the only time when that living being hears even a word of Dharma in this life. Yeah, when you're out in public and people notice us and they come up and talk to us, yeah, that may be the only contact they have with the Dharma for eons. So it's important to cherish that living being, help them to make at least some kind of good impression about the Buddha's teachings. Yeah. So I think I've told you all how one of my teachers, Kyabje Sang Rinpoche, we took him to Santa Monica Beach, and all the sea urchins were there, these beings that close their mouths when you put something here. And he would put his mala in their opening, and they would go like this. Yeah. Now when they opened again, he'd go to another sea urchin. That's how he made karmic connection with them. Yeah. When we were, where were we? When we were in Taipei. No, in Kaohsiung. Remember we were at that bridge with all the fish underneath? Yeah? And this man was feeding the fish, and we were there. And so he had a lot of extra bread that he gave us so that we could feed the fish. So I kept thinking, some way to make some karmic connection with all these fish that were swimming around. And there are a few turtles in there too. Yeah. So just, doing what you can. Okay? And so it's really a thing of familiarization. Yeah, they say, it's not difficult to understand the benefits of cherishing others and disadvantages of self-centeredness. It's not difficult to understand the importance of other living beings, but to actually generate the mind that cares for everybody equally, to actually generate bodhicitta, that takes a lot of time and effort, a lot of familiarization. Yeah? So it's not, unlike realizing emptiness, where you really have to analyze and think a lot, and it's very difficult to understand. The method side of the path is not that difficult to understand, but it's very difficult in the sense that it needs constant familiarization, again and again and again. And there's no shortcut to do that. Yeah? We can't hire somebody else to meditate on the kindness of others for us because we would rather go to sleep. We can't do that. It's something we have to do ourselves, repeatedly to really put that imprint in our own mind again and again. Okay? And so, one of my teachers, when he often speaks when, generating the bodhicitta motivation or dedicating the merit at the end of something, and he always says, really think, I myself alone will rescue the beings from the lower realms. I myself alone will lead them to full awakening. Yeah. And he says this with such passion. And, some of us are going, can we have a little bit of help? Yeah, I myself alone will benefit all the beings in the hell realms. Can't I ask somebody else to go do that for me? I really don't want to go to the hell realms. Yeah. But, this is the kind of familiarization that we need to do, just with that thought. Just to that thought, because that thought is eventually going to lead to the great resolve, which is the precursor to bodhicitta. So we're always saying, I'll do it alone. Leave me alone. I want to do it alone. Why are you looking over my shoulder? Let me do it. Get off my back. So here's the perfect opportunity. Yeah? I myself alone will lead all those animals, who are chasing and killing each other to full awakening. Yeah? We're always saying, leave me alone. I'll do it. Get off my back. So this is our chance. We're so funny, aren't we? Yeah? We have a chance like this and we go, no, yeah, I want some help. I don't want to do this alone. In fact, I don't really want to do it. Yeah. Can somebody else do it for me? I'm glad there's so many bodhisattvas in this world. They will serve all the sentient beings. Yeah. Phew, got out of that one. Yeah. So we're so funny, aren't we? So this is the kind of thing, where it's really helpful to think about, who's happier, ordinary sentient beings who cherish themselves, or Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who cherish others. Yeah? It becomes quite clear. Okay, so in this process of exchanging self and others, practicing fortitude is very, very important. Okay? We may see the benefit of cherishing others. We may see others as kind, as lovable. But what sabotages having that mind in a consistent way? What gets in the way? Anger, doesn't it? What? Sentient beings. Oh, okay, they get in the way. Yeah, these sentient beings get in the way of our having love and compassion for them. Yeah, they should really act better, make it easier on us. Okay. No, it's anger, isn't it? Our old friend, anger. Yeah, so it's very important to really develop fortitude, to really be able to stand up to difficulties. Yeah, to not crumble when there's problems and difficulties. Okay, because if we look, the people that we admire the most in the world are the people who don't crumble. At least for me, when I think of people who I really respect, they don't crumble when there's difficulties. Yeah? That somehow the difficulty makes them more determined. Mm? So, yeah. To see the value of cultivating fortitude, and to remember that whenever somebody does something we don't like, this is a result of our own negative karma. Yeah, why are we pointing the finger at somebody else and saying, I don't like what this person does. This person treats me so badly, they don't appreciate me, they call me names, they don't do what I ask them to do. I don't like them. They forget my birthday. Yeah? Why do we complain about that when it's all due to our own negative actions? And what's responsible for our negative actions? Self-centeredness. So this is not a thing of criticizing ourselves and telling ourselves we're bad. It's a thing of facing the reality of the law of karma and its effects. Yeah? Why am I experiencing this suffering? I don't know what I did to mudita in past lives. What did I do to deserve this? That's what my mother used to ask when I misbehaved. Yeah. What did I do to deserve a child like you? I don't know. You and Dad did something. Yeah. But, what did I do to deserve it? I harmed other living beings. So what in the world am I complaining about? Yeah. What in the world am I complaining about? You throw the boomerang out, it comes back and hits you. Yeah? Or it's like playing racquetball, I guess, when you do it against a wall. You hit the ball, boing. Something like that. Okay? So it's helpful. Remember that it's due to our karma. Remember that this person has actually been your kind mother sentient being innumerable times. Yeah. Remember that they've been your best friend many times, that they've showed you kindness. Yeah. Yeah. That not only have they been your mother and taken care of you, but we've been their mother and looked at them with, these eyes of love, the way mothers look at their babies. Yeah. So this person you can't stand. Oh, I can think of someone right now. Or somebody you're afraid of, or whatever it is, okay? Then to think, this person has been my mother. Oh my God, what a child I must have had, But to think this person has not always been who they are now. They haven't always had that personality. In different lifetimes, they've had different personalities. Yeah. And we've had different relationships with them. And we've been their children and they've been our children. Yeah. And we've been best friends before.
So somebody that in this lifetime has a lot of money, a lot of power, and in order for him to have this or her to have this, it means that they did good things in the past.
Right.
What I have difficulty to understand is for having been so generous, that means that I did care for people. Why now I do not care about people? What is that? I
Yeah.
understand I saw the mind stream and we're not the same person and that karma comes together. You never know how it comes together.
Yeah.
Is it this?
Yeah. Well, it's because we've had so many lifetimes in the past that some lifetimes, that person might have been very, very generous and created so much good karma caring for others in that way. And then other lifetimes, because beginningless time, there's a lot of time, yeah. Then maybe they were, a very rude, selfish individual and just have that ingrained habit, and they haven't worked on it yet and overcome it. Yeah. So different karma is, from different lifetimes ripen, different habits develop in different lifetimes that can manifest. Yeah. So Shantideva also talks about, we appreciate the Buddha because he gave the teachings. We appreciate our spiritual mentors, at least sometimes, because they teach us, they give us precepts and so on. We appreciate the people who feed us and who are kind to us and so on. And so, because they help our practice. And so does the obnoxious person. They help our practice. We can't practice fortitude or patience with somebody who's kind to us. Yeah? We really need those other people. So, that's why bodhisattvas, when they meet somebody who says, I need this or that, they think, oh good, I have a chance to be generous. Or when they see somebody being rude, they think, oh good, I have the chance to practice fortitude. Yeah? So they see all these things as opportunities instead of as obstacles. Yeah. And changing our mind, when we talk about mind training or thought transformation, this is really it. Yeah? I mean, this is how to make our mind happy wherever we are, whoever we're with, is just training our mind to think in these different ways. Yeah? Because there's no place we can go where everybody is going to do what we want them to do, where everybody is going to be kind to us. There is no place where we can go in samsara where that is going to happen. So, we have two choices. Either we get used to being angry and miserable, or we transform how we look at those situations and see them as opportunities to practice. So those are our two choices, and we're the ones who choose. Yeah, so it's really up to us. Yeah, if we want to be miserable, it's our choice. Yeah, but then we shouldn't complain about being miserable. But I like complaining about being miserable. Go ahead. Yeah, nobody can do anything for you if you like that. Okay? So, but if we train ourselves in the disadvantages of self-centeredness, the benefits of cherishing others, then slowly, slowly our mind will start to change. If we don't make the effort to just think differently, it's just a thing of thinking differently. We don't even have to get up and do anything. And yet it's so hard. Yeah? It's like sometimes to change how our mind thinks seems much more difficult than rolling a boulder uphill. Doesn't it? When somebody says something that we don't want to hear, yeah, releasing our antipathy, it seems impossible. How can I not be angry at that person? I've got to be angry at them. And yet it's just a thought. That's all it is a thought. It's not even anything physical. You know, when you really think about it, and yet we're so resistant to changing our thoughts in a way that will make us happier. So who's the foolish person? Who's the stupid person? This one, isn't it? It's not other people. It's this one. Okay? But if we put some energy into trying to change our thoughts, it does pay off and our mind does change. Yeah. I remember from my days in Italy, I always talk about Sam. But Sam had many friends who treated me similar to the way Sam treated me. And you know, this was a time when Serkan Rinpoche, he was teaching, you know, giving all these bodhicitta teachings. And I remember being one place, I think he was teaching in Milano, or somewhere, I can't remember where in Italy. And one of Sam's friends was just, you know, another macho Italian man. I don't have anything against macho Italian. But another macho Italian man. You know, and I was just like, oh, I mean, so arrogant. Yeah. Do you like arrogant people? You know, I don't like arrogant people. You know, people tossing their weight around, demanding things from others. And I was just towards him. And I couldn't forget what Rinpoche was saying, you know, kind of about the kindness of sentient beings, and you need these kind of beings to help you practice, and the disadvantages of self-centeredness, and, you know, and that here's a kind sentient being, and you accumulate so much merit if you can be kind in return. And I remember I had one postcard that I cherished. It was of Serkam Rinpoche riding a yak when he was up in Spiti. Yeah, and I love that postcard. I really treasured it. And I thought, I need to give it to this friend of Sam. And I gave it to him. Yeah. I can't say my mind was 100% happy, but it's like I had to give my mind a big kick in the tush to get it to do something. Yeah, how do you kick your mind in the tush? Yeah. But, you know, so it's that kind of thing when you see sometimes how stubborn the mind is. Yeah, or I've told you sometimes how I didn't want to give 25 pace to the beggars when I walked down to the market. You know, it's like a few pennies. And because I didn't have very much money, you know, it's like, I can't give a cup of tea to these beggars. A few pennies. Yeah? I mean, how entrenched the mind is, and how sometimes, you know, I mean, we have to understand these things and practice and familiarize ourselves again and again. And sometimes we need to just give our mind a kick in the tush. Yeah? And sometimes you need to take your mind like you're taking a little baby and say, okay, I know you don't want to do this, but come on, let's do it. So you have to see what your mind needs at a particular time. Does it need a kick in the tush? Or does it need a hand that is, you know, gently guiding it to do something else? Okay, but to really see that, you know, this is up to us. Okay, and so, you know, I was just reading, we had the question arise last night about bodhisattvas all being equal when they're on the same level or whatever. And I happened to find this passage here in Khensa Rinpoche's chapter, where he was saying that, here he's saying all bodhisattvas are equal in having love and compassion, but the strength of their love and compassion and bodhicitta can differ greatly. Okay? So the strength of their practice of the 6 perfections can be very different. Yeah? How long it takes them to attain full awakening can be different, because it depends on, you know, how strong their love and compassion and bodhicitta are. And that is going to depend on how much they put effort into generating those in the first place. But they're bodhisattvas, so they must have generated them. But how much effort they put into deepening them. Yeah? And so here's where you're going to get the sharp, medium, and dull faculty bodhisattvas. Because a lot of that is going to depend on how much they nudge themselves along. Not push and not cajole, but nudge themselves along in the practice to develop the good qualities. Yeah. So again, that's up to us to do. Nobody can really nudge us along if we don't want to go. Yeah. But the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas don't give up on us, which is really miraculous when you think about it. Yeah. That they don't just toss up their hands and say, you know, I've been trying to lead this sentient being to enlightenment for 15 million great eons, and, you know, they're still, look how they're behaving. They don't give up on us. Could you imagine bodhisattvas at the end of the day sharing notes about what happened? This would be a good skit, you know? Wouldn't it? Oh, I went to America today. Oy vey, those Americans, you know. I went to the Kremlin today. I don't know, what's worse? Yeah? You went to the Kremlin, I went to the White House. I don't know, these sentient beings. Yeah. Could make a very good skit. Hmm?
What are the similarities and differences between having love and compassion for others versus cherishing others?
I think when you cherish others, then you generate love and compassion for them. Yeah, I don't think those things are that different. Yeah, you have to see the benefits of cherishing, and then when you do, you develop love and compassion. But that has to really be based on equanimity for all living beings first.
You were talking some time ago about feeling like a square peg in a round hole.
About what?
Being a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
I've felt that way often living here. For just that thought comes up because we've had that expression. And actually I kind of changed it the last time that happened to me. It was months and months ago. And I just decided, okay, well, if I'm going to feel that way, I could really just make the peg a little smaller.
Yeah.
Or the hole a little bigger and everything would be fine.
Uh-huh.
And it hasn't actually come up since then.
Yeah. Right. Very
was
good. When
funny.
you feel like a round peg and trying to go in a square hole.
Or
yeah.
vice versa. It
Or
doesn't,
vice
just,
versa.
it doesn't fit. The mind that goes to that place. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
actually,
Make
it
the
worked
peg
for my
smaller
mind
and
for
the
some
hole
reason.
bigger.
Yeah. I just, changed
Yeah.
something from both sides in my mind and let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.